It doesn't matter the origin of the organic matter. So long as it's an organic matter, the chemistry or the biochemistry of this food waste is the same. So then when we have a technology where we break that structure, either by converting it into some useful material or breaking it such that we render it less harmful, then we are doing something. So the black soldier technology is currently being tested. Jomo Kenyatta University, in collaboration with Meru University, is working on this project to be able to convert organic waste into proteins. So this black soldier fly is harvested as protein, and then the protein can be used either to feed fish or poultry or any other use. This protein can also be used to recover biodiesel, and these are research that are ongoing. We have master students, we have PhD students. Quite a number of these students are youth. And therefore, what are we saying? That we can be able to get proteins from waste. We are able to get what? Biodiesel from this waste. And this is a business opportunity. This is a business opportunity for youth, and women. So it's a technology that the university is testing, but before it is released for use, it must be tested. We must know what is the conversion rate. If we have 100 kilograms of organic waste of particular quality, we look at the chemistry of that organic waste and be able to know how much proteins, how much lipids, how much carbohydrates, how much sulfur, so that when it is broken down, then it ends into a less harmful product. And of course, we get the yield of the larva that can be harvested. What is harvested? Can it transmit diseases? Because we might not be able to select how the organic waste is disposed, but is it able to transmit diseases? So these are the questions that as a researcher, as a university professor, I'll be asking. What about if the food waste or the fecal matter has got salmonella, a disease-causing microorganism, and it is broken down? Does the product have some traces of salmonella? These are the questions that the university is asking and researching and getting data. So any finding is backed up by data, and this data is collected by testing through accredited laboratories and all that. And of course, the black soldier technology for treating organic waste is able to create a business opportunity for youth and women. And finally, I want to talk about the biomethane. In biomethane, still, we are talking about the organic waste that is now being converted into some useful biofuel. So from the organics, we get the gas, and the gas can be used as fuel. And in this case, just as I have said, we are converting the waste to a resource. And that's what the university is doing. There are quite a number of studies that are ongoing to be able to improve the yield. From 1 kilogram of waste, how can we improve the yield of the gas that comes out, and therefore the amount of energy? So these are technologies that are ongoing, that can be harnessed to create business opportunities. I think that's what that's my contribution from the university point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our able panelists. We have had issues, technology, markets, and the opportunities. Because of time, ladies and gentlemen, because we have to move to the next panel, I will not give our panelists some parting shot, but I'll only request Dr. Wale in a minute just to sum up. I'll request the audience to take this contact, WASPA, that is WESP, ywc@gmail.com, so that your comments, your questions, your observations can be answered while you are still here. So please direct them to there. Our apologies. So with this, let me ask Dr. Wale in a minute to just sum up.
Thank you very much indeed for such a rich conversation. I've learned a lot. And you know, when you were talking about the waterless toilets, you know, and the black soldier, you know, I got so inspired because this is why, as Africa, we must not benchmark blindly. You see, innovation is birthed by the need. That's why M-Pesa cannot work in a country where they have other payment platforms that work very well. M-Pesa works here because of the need. And so I think every problem we see around us becomes a potential trigger for innovation. You know, the nation of Israel, there were some two people that did a research and wrote a book called The Startup Nation, Don Senor and some other guy. And when they were starting that research, it was based on the premise that they wanted to find out, how has Israel succeeded in spite of all the hostility around it? That is what they went into the research trying to answer. Why did this nation thrive in spite of the hostility? But this is why, as researchers, we challenge our assumptions. When they got there, it was a totally different thing they found out. They found out that Israel did not thrive in spite of hostility. They thrived because of hostility. That, if there was no hostility, they would not have been innovative. Why? Because everybody around them wanted to finish them off. So the first industry that developed was the military. That the first thing we must do, we must learn how to defend ourselves. So innovation came from the need. And so that's why I want to thank everybody. It's been phenomenal. And let's look at the needs around us. Singapore doesn't have, they don't need to do waterless toilets. We are the ones that need it. So let's look at the needs. Let's beware of what we benchmark and not benchmark blindly. And together we transform our nations. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. Let's give ourselves at the audience a round of applause. And finally, this panel is a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Let's appreciate that team, please. Very inspiring presentation, educative, informative from Dr. Wale. I'm your student in the background, you don't know that, but now you have the opportunity to know. And the moderator and the speakers. Another round of applause, please. Now, time is not our best ally, and we want to make it short. I think we also partly came late, and we are responsible for that. But now, as we move into the next session, kindly let us make it short so that we don't interfere with the other programs ahead of us. So, without much ado, I want to invite Dr. Leonita Sumba, who is moderating this session. I don't have the privilege to have her biography here, but Dr. Sumba is the former director, Kenya Water Institute. Currently, she is the chairperson of Women in Water and Sanitation in the Republic of Kenya, where we are looking to strengthen it. And yesterday, she gave a very moving presentation, such that the speech of the cabinet secretary was just dotted with Dr. Sumba, Dr. Sumba, Dr. Sumba, Dr. Sumba. So I think that was well informative. Why don't we appreciate Dr. Sumba as she comes?
Thank you, Anthony, and thank you very much. Although we are pressed for time, I think you must be tired. So just stand up and stretch yourself. So just stretch yourself before we continue. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. As you've heard, my name is Leonita Sumba. Yes.
Sorry for the interruption. We are streaming this live. We are aware that we are full capacity. The conference has broken the walls, but we request for your indulgence. This room has a capacity of 500, but with COVID, it cannot accommodate. So we are making every effort to ensure you have your comfort in this place, so bear with us. What we are doing now, I've instructed the team to ensure that we have a number of rooms so that the live stream is enjoyed there. So what we will do for those who don't have space here, we will take you to another room so that you can follow it on YouTube and Facebook. I think that will be sufficient instead of locking everybody out. So this is the biggest room that we have. If I had the opportunity, I would break the halls, the power, but I don't have the power to do that. So we request for your indulgence as we ensure we have your comfort in this place. Thank you. But you can continue tweeting. There's the hashtag WASPA Youth and Women Wash Conference 2021. And you can continue also following us on WASPA Kenya, on YouTube and Facebook. We have a number of people that are following us. Thank you very much.
Okay. So thank you for that. So I'm proud to announce that I'm also a beneficiary of Dr. Wale's program, Inspired to Inspire, and he is my mentor. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Wale. Okay, so our next session is on capacity development and research to optimize the untapped youth and women potential. And I have the privilege of inviting the next speaker, who is Professor Blessing Mberu. Professor, please come on stage, and as he comes, you can clap for him. Okay. Maybe just have a seat. Please have a seat. So Professor Blessing is a senior research scientist and head of urbanization and well-being. Blessing works on migration, urbanization, adult reproductive behavior, and poverty in sub-Saharan Africa under the Urbanization and Well-being Research Program. He holds a doctorate in sociology, a Master of Arts degree in sociology from Brown University in the USA, and an MSc from University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He's an Oga. Blessing joined APHRC, African Population Health Research Center, in 2008 as a postdoctoral fellow from Brown University, USA. He previously worked at APHRC as a research intern and a travel scholar between August 2004 and June 2005. Prior to joining APHRC, Professor Blessing worked at Abia State University, Nigeria, since August 1988 as a graduate assistant in the Department of Sociology, and promoted later to a senior lecturer between 1999 and 2002. Can we all welcome Professor Blessing as we wait for the other panelists to come? Okay. Can we sanitize this?
Okay, good morning everyone. While he sets this up, it's a pleasure to be here. I want to appreciate the leadership of WASPA for inviting us and allowing APHRC to partner in this process. I work on urbanization. Most of the time when we look at Africa, people talk about fertility and mortality, okay, family size and so on. And those are important issues. But the real demographic event in Africa is urbanization. Urban areas are growing, so many of them, and there are many challenges. If you look at Kenya with Katiba Mpya, you have 47 counties. Those are 47 new centers of counter attraction where resources and people go. And planning is lagging behind, investment is lagging behind, basic services are lagging behind. And so those are real issues confronting Africa's development. So I'm very happy to be here and to talk about capacity development and research. It's very interesting, like from yesterday, from the CS, it's all about research. I mean, my work has already been done by Wale. He talked about research and development. You saw the catalog. Most of the time we think that research is a necessary evil. No, it's the beginning. A lot of investment are needed. There is a correlation. Look at the nations he listed. Look at the companies. It's the same. We cannot continue to shoot in the dark. In my place, we have a proverb. If you know the road, why enter the bush? I mean, you've seen the road. And research is key, is critical. Okay? If you look at the word, it's research. In other words, you search. And after searching, you search again. And search again. And search again. So that's what this is about. The other word there is capacity. Most of the time we believe in miracles. I do too. But if I follow Wale and go to the scriptures, one of the gifts St. Paul talked about was the gift of working of miracles. Miracles are worked. W-O-R-K-I-N-G. Working. And one of the ways to work miracle is to get capacity. Thank you very much again for inviting me, and let's go into the business. I don't have the answers. So what I will do is to raise a lot of critical questions. And in doing that, I want to look at these areas. What are the research and capacity gaps? What are the opportunities? And how do we maximize opportunities moving forward? The critical question among all of those is the how. We cannot continue to talk. We gotta do. So in terms of that, I go to the first. What are the research and capacity gaps? You see, it is filled up. I deliberately left it like that because in research, there's so much to do. There are so many questions. You saw the professor. You know, even when you have the idea of the technology, even when you have those ants, you know, breaking down the chemical contents of those, you still ask, does it have samolina? And if it is broken down, will it cause disease? Is it this one broken? Is it still able? That can be a PhD for somebody here. Are you still with me? And you're asking about opportunities. That's opportunities. And if you know very well, women are better researchers. They have this sense of being quiet, you know, and yet things are happening. Multitasking with leg and hands. That could be a PhD research for somebody. So there are a lot of questions there. I want to go through them quickly. What are the knowledge gaps in water and sanitation in Kenya? I mean, we can talk. We want to be represented. We want to be included. The question is to do what? What are the knowledge gaps in Kenya? And these gaps are not just at one point. At the national, at the county, at the community. Vincent was talking about Busia. Were you here? He wasn't talking about Nairobi. It's Busia. And now with counties, you have those authority places. Those are points of interaction with communities, with policies, with innovations. What do we really know at those levels? But beyond the levels, national, you saw the CS yesterday talking to the deputy governor and the engineer there also talking about the this executive committee. There are many levels. There are issues at many levels. National, county, community. What about across the value chain? Because when we talk about sanitation, it's very easy to say sanitation. Sani what? At what level? For what? What are the basic components? Okay? Across the value chain. What are the gaps in innovation? What are the gaps in technology? What about market opportunities? Those are very important research questions. What are the capacities of our women and youth to play in this sector? We can come here, we can be passionate about equality. Hello, the rubber meets the road when I ask you, what is your capacity? What are you able to do? We cannot include you in the board to sit in the chair. Is that what you want to do? Even women will not want that. So you must bring something to the table. Okay? Do we have a critical mass of expertise among our women and youth? Or do we just have tokens? You know what tokens mean? A little, one Dr. Sumba. Where is my own Caroline? Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. If this sector opens up, because if you look closely, if you look prophetically, you see where Africa is going. Do we have a critical mass of people? Those are research questions. Beyond positions to be assumed. And I put if in capital letter. Did you see that? If they are available. Because most of the time when we're talking about inclusion, we are thinking that there is vacancy there that we now say, we have chance. Who do we choose? Beyond positions to be assumed, if they are available, a big if. What are the processes for sustainability? In the area of recruitment. retention, progression into science, technology, engineering, and mathematical disciplines. We have to withdraw a little and look back. It is all about input and output. What is in our pipeline? People like Dr. Sumba, how many years do you have to really actively work? Let me be generous, 30 years. And so who follows? What's the process? What is the process of recruitment in jobs? And leadership. I want to emphasize leadership, not just being a leader. Because you can also offer leadership without being a leader. You can also offer leadership after being a leader. So let's ask this question. These are questions that are begging for answers. What are the socio-political and economic structures that engender or hinder women, youth, and men in the sector? And I included men, because sometimes when we talk about women, we really think that they are different with men. If you address poor women issues, you are leaving 50% of the population who are poor. Do you know whom they are? Poor men. I learned about 19 parastatus, right? Or so yesterday from the CS. Even if we divide that 50-50, would that solve any problem for this country? I mean, it's a drop. So what are the issues, the social structural challenges that hinder? How do we systematically and reliably address them? So I say here, these are key research questions that need constant investments. And Wale mentioned that, and the professor mentioned that. Friends, research is a constant investment. I was looking at those billions you are putting in companies, but the challenge, if you come from where I come from, the challenge is how much are we investing, even as small water companies? Okay, let's move to the county. What about this nation? What is our budget for research? And the professor talked about the university. What is the budget of the university for research? How is it that you must only get money from America and Germany and the EU? What about us? Nakuru County, how much have we put aside? It's not afterthought. Nehru said, oh, research is costly. He said, yeah, and we are poor, so we cannot afford research. No, Nehru said, because we are poor, we cannot afford not to invest in research. These are key research questions that need constant investments because we need robust answers. We need robust answers to inform policy, to inform action. We cannot continue to talk or shoot in the dark. Such data are critical to local communities, cities, and towns where the problem lies and solution needed. I go back to Vincent's description of the brick system they developed in Busia. The problem is at the local. Public health programming is at the local. That's where the problem is. That is where we need to get data. That's where we need solutions. Implementing agencies they need it, but they often lack local data to pinpoint priorities, to evaluate progress of interventions, identify what works or otherwise. Most of the time you hear WHO in Geneva, or you hear people talk about Africa. Those are serious issues. Africa is not a country. Africa is a continent of 54 countries. Anglophone, Lusophone, Francophone. Different policy environments, different development regimes, different socioeconomic capitalization. Are you still with me? So we cannot just be talking about Africa. Even Kenya, we can't be talking about Kenya. I will give one example as I go on. So a one model fits all for inclusion may not work everywhere, no matter how passionate we want change. You know, I mean, you were here yesterday. I mean, that CS was phenomenal. You know, you want leaders who can relate with what is going on. Okay? She listened in this meeting and literally changed her speech and answered satisfactorily. But you see, no matter that level of passion, there is no one model that will address the issue. We can become activists, we can march on the streets, it will not solve it. So research and these questions must be addressed. So in trying to, I looked at those questions, I was saying, okay, let me try and answer, give some insight into what my answer will be, for instance. And I chose this issue, demographic dividend. How many of us have heard about it? Okay, demographic dividend. You hear that, you know, we have a youth board, eh? We have a youth board, we have a working age population. And so, we are ready to take off. That is in principle. In practice, it's not that automatic. The same thing, you know, God will bless you and you go and dance. You better find out how you will work it out. How will you operationalize that blessing? Okay? So we have mostly heard, you've heard about the youth or working age boys in a place like Kenya, across Africa. Kenya has about 75% of this population are under 35. I didn't bother to look at under 25 because in Africa, I don't even know where you stop. Because sometimes at 30, you are still tamacking, eh? Looking for things. Never really started. One of my students, I taught him many years ago in Nigeria in sociology department. Okay, I've been in contact with him, very bright guy. I keep pushing him. Eventually he went into MBA and all of that. But I said, no, you are an intellectual. So he has gone back to do PhD in development studies, sociology. But do you know, I was shocked that he's 50. Hello? 50? I said, Haiji, you are 50. He said, Oga, I also am afraid of my age. I can't believe he's 50. And yet, I mean, I have to call a few people to see whether they can give him assistant lectureship job. Can you imagine that? When I went to Brown, I thought I came in there, I was 30. I was 37. My classmates were 21 and 22. Okay? They will be talking to you and be typing in the computer. But me, I have to find the alphabet. So, 35, let's live with that. Of this population is 75% of this population. Yeah, so we have the capacity to develop because these guys are strong, they are young. That is what was talked about the Asian tigers. You also had Wale talk about those, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, and so on. They benefited from that demographic structure because when you have a more working age population, then those who are dependent becomes less. So you're able to, if you have a lower dependency ratio, then you're able to save and invest. So demographic dividend is not an automatic dividend. You have to invest in it. And so let me show you what I think. It's out there, I just picked this. So you have that population structure of young people ready to work. Then you have the other end, demographic dividend. But you have a lot of stuff in between. Are you still with me? Health. What's their health like? Okay? Are they healthy? Okay? What about education? What about governance? And yesterday, the CS mentioned corruption and things like that. Okay? What about the economy itself? So these are issues that must be addressed by policy, by intervention, if population structure of young working people will give us any dividend. Otherwise, this is a time bomb. This is a time bomb. I want to move quickly, give another example. Okay, let me do quick, but just a moment. Maybe about... No, but when you are standing here. Okay, friends, look at this also. I was just trying to give you a sense of the youth. Okay? This data to the left is level of education. We have what we call needs. Young people who are not in education, not in employment, not in training. Are you there? This is the most vulnerable of our youth population. Some of them have finished school, or they are not in school at all. So when you are talking about youth representation, including youth, at what level? So when I looked at this data, a group did this study in Kenya in 2019. They did a survey of 2,500 youth in this country. This is their level of education to the left. Not 4% doesn't have any education at all. 36 have primary, 51. So only 8% has post-secondary education. And I looked at the report. 6% is vocational education. And 2% is university. Okay? So if you are talking about including youth, you need to know what is their expertise. Friends, you can have an illiterate representation in the Committee of Nations. It doesn't happen. Not in any board also. Okay? But what did I do also? I took that post-secondary group, which is 8%, and broke it down and looked at it by regions. So you see, even when you said only 8% have post-secondary education, you need to look at it across the provinces of Kenya, the different regions. And what do you see? In Northeast, only 2% have post-secondary education. Of course, Nairobi is 15% among this group. So this will begin to give you a sense of what the challenge is, of where to go, of how to begin to talk about interventions and where to invest and so on. I'm going to move faster now because of time. So, for you, therefore, to include these young people, you need to ask a lot of research questions. This is also master's and PhD research questions for those who want to be empowered from this conference. I don't know whether you are there. You could actually even say, amen, it is me. Who are these youth? What are their challenges? What are their enablers? What are their aspirations? What will it take to increase their access to opportunities? I say these are questions only research can answer, so that when we are prescribing solutions, we are aptly informed. Research will open up pragmatic ways of addressing inclusion and sustainable participation in this sector. That's where I was going. That is the way I wanted to go. But I wanted to show you the complications. The answer is not as 1 + 1 = 2. This is not mathematics. Okay? I'm almost getting to where it would taste so good. In terms of what are the opportunities, I also have research questions. Are there vacant leadership positions to be equitably filled by women and youth? I will leave you to answer that question. Are there really? What is the extent of available positions? And will those be enough to address inclusivity? While